Hello and welcome to Gingerman. So earlier this year I started sowing my own seeds and those seeds turned into a business called Unicorn Garden Services that I started with my friend Chris. So I'm going to go pick him up, and today we are going to go learn about Andrew Carnegie, because Andrew Carnegie was once the richest man on the planet and he came from Dunfermline, where we both went to high school. So Andrew Carnegie, show me what you got. Peace.
I'll turn on the camera, test my microphone, I'm firing up the podcast, sound waves coming to your home. Gingerman with a can is here to make your day. Gingerman with a can would like to hear you say today.
So here we are. This is where it all began for Andrew Carnegie in 1835. That's a few years ago. Don't know if your gran or even your great gran will remember him. But anyway, this is where it began. Right here, the Birthplace Museum. Now, I went to Dunfermline High School. I've lived in this area my whole life. Everyone around here knows who Andrew Carnegie is. You know someone who's gone to Carnegie College. It's now Fife College. Sorry, Andy. Or where else? The Carnegie swimming pool, Carnegie Library, the glen that he gave to the people of Dunfermline. We all grew up playing there. Anyway, my point is, 35 years old, never been here before. But I know lots about Andrew Carnegie and I've watched loads of videos about him recently, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give my Gingerman perspective on this man today. I noticed that I never noticed before. It says industry over there, okay, and then there's a bridge. It's a link to the steelworks that he done all in here. I've never noticed this before. Bang for the buck. That's what Andy was all about. Turning a profit, making lots of money. But his beginnings were humble, poor, not so wealthy in the beginning. And I think when we go in here, this is where we'll learn about early Andy, because I don't know much about early Andy. I know a lot about later Andy. This building, in loving memory of Andrew Carnegie, is the gift of his wife, Louise Whitfield Carnegie, to his native town. Respect to Dunfermline for Andrew Carnegie, because Carnegie, obviously from Dunfermline, worldwide, not everyone knows where Dunfermline is, but a lot of people know who Andrew Carnegie is, especially in America. You know, you've got the Carnegie Hall in New York, but we've got a Carnegie Hall here in Dunfermline also. The lovely lady at the entrance gave me an incredible start, so very 10 out of 10 already. And here he is, 5'3" Andy. So, you know, I'm slightly bigger than Andy Carnegie. Right, pal? Do you need your garden grass cut? The humble home of honest poverty. Every morning before leaving for school, Andrew had to fetch water for the household from the town well in St Margaret Street. And in 1836, when Andrew was just 3 years old, his father William expanded the business by adding more looms and moving his family to larger premises in Edgar Street, Reeds Park. And then there was a decline in the weaving industry. This is cool. It's a lovely clock. What it says is the Carnegies could never have afforded a clock like this. So this is the Jacquard room. It was in this room, at a room like this, that William Carnegie, Andrew's father, practiced his trade as a fine linen weaver. It's when you come to places like this that you really appreciate the world we live in today and the things we have. But what I will say, right, is obviously this is pre sort of industrial revolution, school, people working by hand, Carnegie comes along with his pal Adam Smith, and they look at how to maximise profit from the work that they've seen probably people around them being poor from. And it has changed the world, it's made our lives better, because think of all the advancements we have. But when you stand in a room like this, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a strange feeling comes over you. When living in Dunfermline, Andrew had 2 pet rabbits. As nature ran its course, he ended up with a whole nest of baby rabbits, but he didn't have enough time to clean their hutches to gather food for them. Instead of getting rid of the rabbits, Andrew came up with an idea. He asked his friends to help him look after the rabbits. In return, he would name a rabbit after them. It was a clever means to motivate others and to profit himself. The wooden construction of the loom that we've just been looking at is almost 200 years old, but it's not the original loom operated by Andrew's father. I mean, that would be incredible if they had Andrew's 200-year-old, Andrew Carnegie's dad's 200-year-old loom operator. That's a lot to say. I'll maybe have to edit that better. There are windows in both ground floor rooms, one at the front and one at the back. The hand loom weavers usually work during the hours of daylight, as the naked flame of oil lamps or candles was unsuitable for weaving. Well, again, they didn't have the electricity. We've got the use of electricity giving us plenty of light, but you can see already they need the extra light, and it is during the day because the windows are tiny, and this is a really bright sunny day, so you can imagine. Oh, here we go. It was in this room that Andrew Carnegie was born on the evening of Wednesday, 5th of November, 1835. Mother, father and children ate, slept, worked and played in this one room. The room across the passageway was occupied by another family. This is a whole family. And I'm not going to lie, it must have been stinking in here. Margaret, Andy's mum, believed a good home life was vital to set her sons on the right path and set great store on the value of self-improvement and education. She certainly installed that in her son. And there's a portrait of her. Do you know, I've only been here 5 minutes, right, and I feel inspired by Andrew Carnegie so much that I'm going to wear this hat all the time now, because I feel like, well, Andrew wore it because he was 5'3" and it gave him an extra few inches, but I'm going to wear it because I feel like I look like a wizard. But whilst I have this hat on, I want to thank my Patreon legends, who are the legends of every episode. Your names are coming down the screen now. If you want to become a legend also, and see more footage of me in top hats, click the link below. Thanks, peace. Andrew Carnegie's parents promised him that he would not be sent to school until he asked to go. Today, school is compulsory for children from the age of 4 or 5, but in the mid-19th century, this was not the case, and those children who did attend school did not usually do so until they were 8 or 9. Young Andrew had not shown any inclination to go to school until, at 8, he accompanied the pupils of a local school on an outing. His parents just sent him to Mr. Martin's Lancastrian School of Rowland Street, just 100 metres from Carnegie's home. Each child paid 1 penny per week for their education. This type of school was very common in Victorian times, and it had just one teacher in a very large, noisy classroom of over 100 pupils. That's a mad type of education. You just like put your hand up and go, I'm bored at home, Ma, can I go to school? No, on you go, here's a quid. Here's a quid, go and pay for your education. I don't know, I think, I don't know if we could do that today. We're so enriched in an education system now that it would be hard to ever change that socially. Who knows, something to think about. But Andrew Carnegie at the age of 8 wanted to learn, and it's through learning that he was able to expand his knowledge, expand his wealth, expand his imagination, and go on to help change the world. How's that feeling?
It's alright. Tight fit.
Tight fit, man. Seed library. Help yourself to some seeds. And obviously, this whole episode is about planting seeds. So, of course, Andrew Carnegie planted the first seed, and now we're planting our own seeds. I'm just going to take one and I'm going to plant it. Peas. I'm going to plant some peas. No man can become rich without himself enriching others. America, land of opportunity. Look at this big hall. And you can follow this whole path. So the Morse code here part is interesting because Andy and his family had to move to America. Sorry, I'm not going to read all this to you because there's a lot of reading. But they moved to America, sad times. His dad died in 1855. Good tradesman, not good salesman. So one of his, Andy, head of the family, and by the age of 16 had become one of the most sought after telegraph operators in America. Kid was smart. And he realised information is power. Information, power, money, all of that. He was learning quickly. So the sooner that bankers, manufacturers, the government received information, the more quickly they could act and with fewer risks. No wonder everyone wanted the best telegraph equipment and operators. So there we go. Andy's mind is already starting to help him advance forward. Seizing the opportunity. There's the man, Thomas Scott. In 1855, Thomas Scott advised Andrew to make his first investment. It was in Adams Express, a private company which moved documents and parcels between cities and later became American Express. Whew, good investment. The price for the recommended 10 shares was $600. Andrew's mother's Margaret remortgaged their house to raise the money. That's dedication. She knew her son, she knew him. Less than a year later, Andrew received his first dividend cheque. It was worth many times more than the interest on the loan. The experience convinced him investing was an excellent way to make money. Exactly, invest in unicorn gardens today. War breaks out. When the American Civil War broke out in 1861, Thomas Scott was put in charge of organising military transportation for the Union. So over the next few years, he and Andrew worked together to move soldiers, weapons, fuels and animals along the Pennsylvania Railroad. What we're seeing here is when there's an opportunity to use his skills, his abilities, his mind, his communication skills, Andrew's there, and he is now beginning to understand that he can make You can make bank, heavy bank. Look at all these books he wrote. Triumphant Democracy, Round the World, The Path to Peace Upon the Seas, The Baseless Fear of War, Problems of Today. He wrote a few books that I didn't know about. From boyhood, Andrew was a regular contributor to the press, writing on topics as diverse as slavery and international peace. His witty and often provocative letters led to articles and books. Tell you what, his handwriting's quite neat. Tell you what, give me the fright of my life. There he's there. He's got a rabbit. He loves his rabbits. He's like me. He likes the Highlands. I love the Highlands. I've actually gone to America and spent time there, and I wouldn't go live there. No offence to America. I love Scotland. This is the place to live now. The press called Carnegie the Star-Spangled Scotchman, a name that perfectly captured the blend of Scottish and American traits in his personality. His private life too was shared between the two countries. He lived as a bachelor with his mother in a suite in New York's Windsor Hotel until 1887 when, at the age of 51, he married 30-year-old American Louise Whitfield and built a new mansion between 90th and 91st Streets for their marital home. That's not bad for a wee lad from Dunfermline, eh? Building a mansion in New York. The couple's love of Scotland led them to buy Skibo Castle as a Highland retreat. The arrival of their daughter Margaret in 1897 turned into a beloved family home. Some of the furniture from Andrew's study at Skibo is displayed in this alcove. There he is. Massive globe. That is a big ass globe. But if you're the richest man in the world, you're going to have a big globe. A big fat globe. There's Charles Schwab. Oh, there's Theodore Roosevelt next to the giant globe. Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States of America, often visited the Carnegies in their mansion in New York. Wow. So there you go. From wee kid to Dunfermline to meeting presidents in New York. He's gone the full way. There's a lot of hope for everyone. Look at his giant portrait. I always found it interesting. Died 1919. Seen World War I was enough for him. He's like, hey, I'm tapping out. That's it. I'm out. The world's gone mental. And here we go. We're now into Andy the philanthropist. Local hero. Recognising heroism in everyday life. As the woman was saying to me as I first came in, there's still three I think she said, trustees, funds that now give out money to the places in the world. You know, even me, I've grown up in this area. I've benefited from Andrew Carnegie's money. Going swimming, the library, I'm trying to think what else, colleges, education, so much to thank. But this is where the butt will come once we leave the museum and we say, at what cost? And we'll balance up the arguments. The Carnegie Hero Fund Trust. I just noticed a quote over there. There is little success where there is little laughter. Absolutely, you got to be laughing. I'm always laughing when I'm not crying. Just a nice bit about dinosaurs here, just to mix it up. Diplodocus carnegie, a plant-eating sauropod, was named after Andrew Carnegie as he financed its excavation in Wyoming. See, I've always wondered how you get a dinosaur named after you. So you've got to fund the excavation. I'll put that on my to-do list. Well, there's a quote. The man who dies thus rich dies disgraced. So don't be greedy. In 1903, Andrew Carnegie donated $89,000, worth around $2.5 million today, to the Iron and Steel Institute in London to set up 7 research scholarships of the annual value of £100 each. Boom. There's the Carnegie dinosaur next to another rabbit. But you can see that this museum has to be a special place because he's given so much in terms of financial wealth, financial power to projects, to startups, to people, to being able to clean your hands. Shocking, Andy, sort it out. This is the recording of his voice. How do we play it? Wait, she said to play a button. Oh.
I quote from the first, published 25 years ago. This, then, will be the duty of the man of wealth. First, to set an example of modest, unostentatious living, shunning disgrace, to provide moderately for the legitimate wants of those dependent upon him, and after doing so, to consider all surplus revenues which come to him simply as trust funds, which he is strictly bound, as a matter of duty, to administer in the manner which in his judgment is best calculated to produce the most beneficial results for the community.
Surplus wealth is a sacred trust which its possessor is bound to administer in his lifetime for the good of the community. Well, there we go, we just heard it from his very mouth. And I think that's where I'm going to be heading after here, is to look into the community. Because a lot of what I do is about going round communities, and that's what Andrew Carnegie's preaching. And I guess, you know, living in this area, it must be through the blood of us people that's what we think about. Because I think individual wealth is about, you know, it can be atrocious. Why would you be greedy when everyone around you? We need everyone around us to work. And I think Andrew Carnegie had a profound understanding of this. So here's all the things locally that we can attribute to Carnegie. The park, Pittencrieff Park, the Glen, the library, Abbey Park House, Andrew Carnegie House, Carnegie Leisure Centre, Carnegie Clinic, Carnegie Hall, the Music Institute, Lauder College, Carnegie College, and William Hunter's Memorial. Carnegie contributed to the public fund for a memorial for William Hunter, a young man who died while trying to save a local boy from drowning in Town Hill Loch. So we can see huge philanthropist. But was everything he done above board? Was it all good? This is finished at the museum now. I'm going to jump in the car and I'm going to head to the Andrew Carnegie statue in the middle of the Glen, because the Glen for me is probably my favourite contribution Andy gave to the local area. This is where it all happened from Andrew Carnegie. This is what we're looking for, the Andrew Carnegie statue. Because Andrew Carnegie, obviously, as a kid wasn't allowed in this park, and as we grew up, we were allowed in this park. Me and Chris actually, sometimes when our pals would go up to Carnegie swimming pool on a Saturday, then come to the Glen and run about playing hide and seek. Right, there he is. Having achieved great success in business in the United States of America, he devoted his fortune to the good of mankind. That's the back of him. I'll get the front. For a guy that was only 4'3" and a half, it's an awfully big statue. Is he compensating He's got his wee book in his hand and one clenched fist. I think that's telling. One clenched fist says, listen, I'm not to be messed with. But the other one with the book open, he's open to listen and learn, and he's wanting diplomacy, democracy, all of these things. But remember, he's got a clenched fist. And we'll get to that, because I'm going to tell you a story about the Pinkertons at one of his factories when he came up against the unions. And it's one of those stories that it's sort of the opposite side. It's the clenched fist side of Andrew Carnegie. Looking right up to the city chambers of Dunfermline, up the high street. Andrew Carnegie, the King of Dunfermline. Actually, he's not the King of Dunfermline, sorry, Robert the Bruce is the King of Dunfermline. Andrew Carnegie's maybe like the Bank of Dunfermline. There he is. Esto rupus in accessa. That is Latin for everyone gets in the glen. The Homestead Strike, also known as the Homestead Steel Strike, Homestead Massacre, or Battle of Homestead, was an industrial lockout and strike that began on July 1st, 1982, culminating in a battle in which strikers defeated private security agents on July 6, 1982. The governor responded by sending in the National Guard to protect strikebreakers. The dispute occurred at the Homestead Steelworks in Pittsburgh. So this was Carnegie's factory. Now, he had left his number 2 in charge, Mr. Frick, and whilst he was away, Frick decided to take on the steel workers. It's believed that Andrew Carnegie says, you do what you need to be doing, I'm away in Scotland, I'll leave you to it. So almost like washing his hands of the strike, but at the same time also saying, you know, clench fist it. And this resulted in basically a clash between a private army and the strikers who are trying to secure better working conditions, better pay, etc. And in comes an army. Imagine that happening today. Anyway, this resulted in quite a few deaths. And as I say, at the same time Andrew Carnegie is away. And there are very many other stories where Andrew comes up against the unions, which again is kind of part of the community. But in capitalism, in the cutthroatness of it, in the Adam Smith idea of we'll all get richer if we just let one person do what they need to do and become really super wealthy, because everyone will benefit in the long term. How ruthless do you need to be? And in that sense, you know, lives were lost, because it was certainly Andrew Carnegie knowing what needs to be done, but also does it have to be done in such a way, you know? Were there better ways? Did it have to be so ruthless? We're grateful for the advancement, we're grateful for the park, but we all have morals inside of us that we know, and we know Andrew was brought up with those morals, so it's hard to really gauge in 2024 where he stands on these matters, because we live in such a different time now where moral standards are judged differently. So it's a big thing to think about. But as I walk around the Glen today, I can only be really thankful for Andrew Carnegie. But also, Andrew Carnegie must represent also all the people that worked for Andrew Carnegie, all the lives that were lost working for him, all of the people who worked to further human life, to further advance technology and so on. Anyway, I've got one more place to visit and then we'll be out of here with Andrew Carnegie. So here we are, I'm at the back of the Carnegie Hall. Now yes, if you're American you're saying it's the Carnegie Hall, which is in New York, but he's from Scotland, so it's the Carnegie Hall. Andrew Carnegie, Carnegie Hall. Now I have actually been in shows on this very stage and it's a beautiful old theatre. I don't think we'll get inside, but we'll have a wee walk around it and we'll sort of conclude the story of Carnegie before I get 3rd-degree sunburns. The Carnegie Hall is an Art Deco theatre located in Dunfermline, that's where I am right now, and it was named after the industrial and philanthropist Andrew Carnegie, who was born in Dunfermline. We know that. Designed by architects Muirhead and Rutherford, it was officially opened in 1937. Okay, so there you go, 1937, so 20 years after Andrew Carnegie's left. They're like, that, what can we do with his money? I know, we'll build a theatre. We love the theatre. And I guess at that time, 1937, there's theatres exploding. I mean, the World War II is about to explode too, but theatre is really starting to become a big thing, a big commodity. People want to go out and enjoy themselves, go to the theatre. And there we go, the Carnegie Hall. Andrew Carnegie never got to see it. He never got to see me perform in The Wedding Singer with Rosyth Musical Drama Theatre Company Group, doing the worm across the stage. He never got to see it. But it happened. I've done the worm across the Carnegie Hall stage. I mean, it's a far away from New York, but I guess this is the home of Andrew Carnegie, the real spiritual home, why he kept coming back to Scotland and why he left so much of his wealth to Dunfermline. And Dunfermline's really benefited because it is a beautiful theatre, it's a beautiful park, the Glen. I kind of wish he'd left some money for the Pars though, the local football team, because I think they could do with it, but you know, maybe a future entrepreneur from the area is going to become a billionaire, is going to buy Dunfermline and turn them into, you know, a Champions League football team. Who knows? So, if you were Andrew Carnegie, or if you were yourself and you had Andrew Carnegie's money, what would you do with it? Would you keep it for yourself? Or would you, you know, philanthropist it out and spread all the money? What would you do with it? I always wonder what I would do. I would like to think I would give it all away like him into these social and community projects, but it's hard to even comprehend that level of wealth because it's extremely rare. Well, it was extremely rare in Carnegie's time. I guess less rare now, but you know, there's extreme wealth now. With you know, extreme poverty. Poverty has always existed, and in some parts of the world, technology, advancements, the work of Andrew Carnegie, these types of guys have made life better for everyone because there's more stuff than there's ever been. But I always think, is it, you know, is it at what cost? What could life have been without the industrial aspect of it? Could we have lived a more natural life, you know, more in tune with nature, and still, you know, have as good a life, I guess, you know, in terms of health and in terms of all of these things that we look for a good life. But advancements in technologies haven't always been good, you know. We're fast food, for example, people are unhealthy, people are overweight, people are obese, we've got depression, we've got all of these problems that have, you know, almost symptoms of industrialisation that Andrew Carnegie at the time wouldn't have been aware of. So there's so much to think about when you open up the discussion on someone like Andrew Carnegie, capitalism. It's a rabbit hole. It's a wormhole, rabbit hole, all combined into one. Okay, I better get back to the car. I left Chris in the car and I don't think I left the window down for him, so I better get him some water. Aye, lots to think about today. Lots to think about Andrew Carnegie. As a kid growing up, from school, you're almost taught to idolise him, and then as your mind grows up and you become more of a critical thinker, you see the other side of the argument, and you know, you go tossing back and forward. You're like, oh, he's a bad man, he's a good man, he's a bad man, he's, you know, clenched fists, you know, reading books and giving money away open hand. That for me is a big part of life. It's yin and yang, it's good and bad. We can't just judge it for one thing, because as we grow older we change, you know. He grew up poor, so, you know, they grew up in that tiny little house that was probably stinking. Farts, imagine the fart smell in that house, man, that would have made anyone, you know, clench fist. So that part of him was in him from birth, to fight, to survive, and that's what a lot of people were going through, and that's what created the, you know, things like the Pittencrieff situation, where he feels like he has to just keep going on, you know, tough. I grew up tough, so you're just going to have to deal with this tough, that sort of attitude. But as the wealth came, more time came, you know, life came to an end, he became more philosophical, and he thought, I need to now give back, because what I've taken from the communities, what I've taken from people, I now need to give back and plant my own seeds for future generations. And I think that's where we are with Andrew Carnegie, and where I am. We're starting my own business and doing Gingerman and all of that. So I look up to Andrew Carnegie as an inspiration more than anything. So thank you. Thanks for having me, Andrew, and thanks for being Andy. Peace.
Well, it was a lovely to see you. It's the end of the show. Bring on tomorrow. Where shall we go? Where shall we go? Say goodnight to the Gingerman. One last ice cream for the bearded man.